don't.
the idea that companies have to have this accelerated growth to reach this, this status as a unicorn or as a other kind of mythical creature, a $1 billion company. And do we really need that? Do we really need more $1 billion companies in the world, particularly in a regenerative economy, or even if we're just focusing on traditional sustainability? Is this the way to be focusing on this?
Mm, I would say direct answer, I don't think so. I don't think that's what we should aspire to. We should definitely aspire to grow sustainably, but the chase or the hunt for the next $1 billion company is really part of that current paradigm. And I feel like if a startup wants to succeed in the current paradigm, that's what they need to go after. That's what they need to do in order to please the investors, who then also need to please their own LPs, and the whole cycle. But especially speaking to a lot of companies that do not perfectly fit into that model, it's just, I don't think it's what we need in the future. But it also shouldn't just be viewed as charity and philanthropy when we talk about impact, right? I mean, it's traditionally always been viewed as either or. So I feel like we need to work on sustainable business models, profitable, so for profit as well, but not at the expense of the mission itself. And that happens so many times. And I'm personally quite passionate about also the hardware space, because
Mm-hmm.
the venture capital space is built usually more on software, right? So software scales very easily. You can demonstrate that hockey stick growth, and then you exit within a matter of a very short amount of time. But with with hardware, with things that require long R&D periods, that just isn't the case. And so how do we support these types of companies? And so I've been really trying to figure out how we can also look at different financing models, or look at blended financing to support
Mm-hmm.
these companies in a better way, right? Because there always is a place for venture capital, but it's still a niche. And so there is going to be, also in climate and a lot of other areas, there are going to be high growth companies that need that kind of capital, but then it's still a niche. And so for all the other types of companies, they need other types of financing as well. But yeah, to go back to the question, I think we need to rethink what we are aspiring to, and also why are we doing that, right? What's the reason why we want to become a $1 billion company?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Why do we need that? Why do we want to become that? And it's a big question. And I think actually it's one that we had with a friend of ours, Nick de la Forge from Planet A Ventures, who was on our podcast a few seasons ago. Similar kind of questions, and he had a very similar type of answer, really questioning whether that even that VC model that we have that have been so prevalent. I think it is, while it's niche, it's still on everybody's mind in the startup space, as being such an important vehicle for this. But in the end, the VC model itself is, how do we invest in a company, let it scale to quote unquote be a unicorn, and then how do we sell it off and move to the next one and the next one. So I think, we do need a new model. We do need a more not only sustainable but regenerative business models, and that of course is what we do with Regen Intel, because
Climate change. We've never faced a greater threat. Yet all that we produce and consume inflates the debt of greenhouse gases we release. We feel them raise the temp, and the tempest we'll unleash will leave us weeping to forget, unless we take collective action, make a pledge to